If you haven't seen the ad by now, you certainly have heard about it. Quite frankly, it could be a comedy skit, and it would be comedy if it were not real. I mean, Democrats are trying to push a false narrative that Kamala Harris is tough when it comes to border security, and the new ad from the Harris for President campaign tries to build on that using images of Donald Trump's border wall. I mean, it's just... It's unbelievable. And joining me now to talk about all of this is Mark Krikorian. He's executive director at the Center for Immigration Studies. Mark, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to have you.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, before I get to the ad itself, I want to play a brief little clip from an interview that Harris did back in 2019, back when she was, yet again, Democrat presidential candidate.
This is irresponsible. It's the height of irresponsibility for the commander-in-chief to suggest that we have to build a wall across our southern border because there are terrorists who are trying to invade the country. It couldn't be farther from the truth.
Now, that's what she really believes. I mean, that's all right. So what do we do with this? Are Democrats really all of a sudden tough on the border? Is Kamala Harris now tough on the border?
No, this is just more of the flip-flopping that we've seen from the vice president. Let me be clear. We don't get involved in elections. We'll analyze what anybody says on anything. But it's pretty clear that the vice president is not serious about this. She hasn't come out and said she supports the wall. She hasn't even had a staff member come out and say it. It's some reporters that are friendly to Harris who are kind of reading tea leaves and saying, aha, we've discovered this new fact. Now, flip-flopping itself isn't necessarily bad in a politician. You know, there's more joy in heaven over one sinner that repenteth, as the gospel says. But the question is, do we really believe this is repentance? Is she really contrite over her own administration's actions? Maybe, but let's see the proof. And the proof would be she goes to the border, has a press conference and says, you know, we were wrong about this, and I've completely rethought it, and so we're going to totally go in a different direction if I get in the White House.
Yeah, great point. I mean, number one, as the borders are, as the one given the responsibility for the border, she didn't even visit the border. She got relatively close one time, but she did nothing. She didn't even visit there. And you bring up a good point that even in the ad, she does not say she's in favor of the wall. It just has images of the wall behind in the background and comments saying she's tough on the border. So I think people need to look at all of this. But this ad, even as you're bringing up, is something that even the legacy media is not able to ignore.
Yeah, definitely not. And remember, it's one more issue on top of other non-immigration issues where she's done the same thing. And at some point, even the legacy media has a little vestigial self-respect left to say, come on, enough is enough here. So we'll see if she's asked about it during this this vaunted interview she's going to do with Tim Walz as kind of babysitting her with CNN. I don't know. Let's see. But on the border, you know, again, as on other issues, which I don't work on and other people are concerned about, but she has to come out and say, look, this is why I thought this in the past, and I learned that I was mistaken, and here's why I believe this now. That, again, you know, as a citizen, I'm eager to hear that. Is it true? But the very fact that she's not doing that, she's not saying why she thought borders were border walls. She called the wall at one point a medieval vanity project of Donald Trump. Okay, well, why did you think that then? And why have you changed your mind? Explain. Maybe you're right. People change. People learn. Explain why that's true. And I'm skeptical because so far we haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah, excellent points. And I would just say if she's being babysat by Governor Walz, I would be concerned about that. I don't know that I would have him as a babysitter to start with. But anyways, back to this whole false narrative that you so powerfully connect all the dots here. Much of the claim of being strong on the border goes back to the bipartisan border bill, which was a very weak bill. It certainly could not be compared to H.R. 2, a border bill that the Republicans put out.
Yeah, and it's actually worse than a weak bill. See, a weak bill, you can say, okay, look, we can only get a little bit, so let's take what we can get and we'll try to get more. That's the way compromise works. A weak bill would actually be better than this Senate bill, the so-called bipartisan bill that Senator Langford and others supported that the Democrats are touting, because it actually is worse than that. It was drafted by Biden's Homeland Security Department. He basically tricked the Republican senator in that group, Senator Langford, into backing it because he didn't understand what was in it. What would it have done? What it would have done is codify in law the illegal immigration policies that this administration is undertaking. So that's my point, is that bill would have been much worse than just a weak bill that didn't do much. It actually did a lot, and it would have been bad, most of it.
So what is going to be the reaction of the American people? Are they going to buy this ad and similar narratives being pushed during this campaign, or are they wise enough to see the truth?
From your lips to God's ears is all I can say. But I don't know. Look, I'm not a campaign strategist. I haven't worked on elections. But at some point, there's so much flip-flopping, insincere flip-flopping here, that it just seems to me it's going to break through. Their thinking, of course, is that the people who are committed Democrats are going to vote that way. You vote for her anyway. The people who are committed Republicans are voting against her anyway. And so the point of this is people who don't pay a lot of attention to politics, they kind of hear in the background, oh, she's for the wall. That sounds good. That's kind of what their goal is here. Maybe it'll work. I don't know, but it doesn't.
We'll see.
You can only do it once, it seems to me, for it to work. You keep doing it on every issue, people aren't going to believe you anymore.
Thank you, Mark Krikorian, Executive Director at the Center for Immigration Studies. Great discussion. Thank you for coming on Washington Watch.
Thank you.